Welcome to the recreation video of Goliath from Six Flags Great America. This coaster has some stunning features, and how close can we get to replicating them? Let's take a look and find out. And don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoy this video. For this recreation, I used a lot of reference photos, and in the end, I realized I didn't use enough reference photos. I needed way more to look at initially so that I could really try to approach this from the best possible standpoint. In hindsight, there was a couple things about the coaster, although really minor, I wasn't really able to address the way I would have hoped to because I didn't notice something in a reference photo that I later did notice. Another thing was finding hard statistical data on the coaster. I was only able to really find information about the first drop on the chain lift and the first overbank turn. Other than that, like ride heights of certain inversions and that sort of thing, I couldn't find anywhere on the internet, so I just had to use my best guess with proportions and visuals. The chain lift is a 45-degree hill, and it's got a 85-degree drop, and the drop is 180 feet tall, and that is at the time, the world's tallest drop for a wooden roller coaster, and it reaches 72 miles an hour, which is also record-breaking for this coaster. The first overbank turn comes in at 125 feet up in the air, and that's pretty mind-blowing considering you're just a hair over 90 degrees kind of looking down. So with those being a few of the hard stats that I had, I made sure that I nailed those aspects of the coaster to give me the best chance at getting the proportions right on this coaster. So I was trying to get a rough layout in to start out with, and I ended up deleting parts of the coaster multiple times. I ended up actually deleting the entire coaster one time just because I didn't really like the way it was coming out. The half-loop inversion at the rear of the coaster was kind of hard to pull off, so if you are a Planet Coaster player, the way I was able to pull off that half-loop is to run the track to the max 85 degrees in one direction, and then actually come at it from the other direction until I reach the max 85, and then you're able to snap the two parts of the coaster together, and there you can actually complete the half-loop. Otherwise, the coaster just won't let you do it. It won't let you go past the 85 degrees. Ended up using some wall pieces and some scenery pieces to kind of help guide how I felt like the proportions should be. So the wall pieces I was able to use to kind of set the depth for the first drop, so that way I could plan the curve out accordingly. And I also used some of the castle wall pieces to kind of make little note points of where things should be dipping in accordance to other pieces on the track. I think in the end, the big overbank turn was probably one of the things, maybe next to the half loop 0G roll, the kind of hang time thing there under the drop. But I redid that overbank turn probably at least 10 times. But after meticulous smoothing and tweaking and referencing and changing and re-referencing, 6 hours later, I came up with something that was really, really close to the original, and I've got it on a point of view video, so let's check that out. At this point, I feel like I've totally nailed the layout and it's synced up with the video near perfectly. Of course, there were a couple of like bank entries and stuff like that on my coaster were a little bit slower than the real one. And then somebody on Discord in the Bro Nation chat pointed out I totally used the wrong type of coaster here. I used the hybrid track instead of the topper track. So at this point, I went back and retraced the entire track with the new coaster style, and then the coaster ended up being quite a bit faster, near 2 seconds faster than the hybrid track. So the videos no longer line up, but I still think the layout is really accurate and it's about as best that I can get it. The next step in this build was to tackle the really cool custom supports that this coaster has. It's a steel kind of I-beam, and it's really iconic, and it just really gives the coaster that Goliath look. So for these supports, I ended up using the railway track pieces. I thought the I-beams in the game were a little bit bulky and just a little overkill for what I was going for. Originally, I was using some thinner metal pieces, and somebody again in Bro Nation pointed out that they just weren't hefty enough, and so that's why I switched to these rail pieces, and I'm very glad that I took the time to make the switch. Moving on to the station platform, I really wanted to just capture the essence of the actual Goliath station platform. I think in the end I was able to really capture that essence, and I'm very pleased with the way the station came out. It's simple, it kind of fits any generic Planet Coaster theme, and it still looks like the Goliath stations. Let me know what you think about that station. Should I have done the extra detail, or is keeping it on the simple side something that you would prefer? The last thing to create for the station entrance was, of course, the entrance sign. Planet Coaster didn't have columns that were bulky enough to really kind of accurately recreate the original Goliath sign. So I ended up adding a second set of columns behind the first set of columns because it just didn't look like it would have supported its own weight the way it was. Perhaps if I had access to 2-meter length castle decor pieces, which is what I used at the top, instead of 4-meter pieces, then it would have looked a little more stable and I wouldn't have needed to put in the second row of columns. All in all, I'm really pleased with the way the front sign came out. And the very last thing to button up this ride was just placing a couple trees, and I kind of looked at some of the overhead maps for the coaster and placed some trees that I had access to in relative positions of the trees for the real ride. All right, let's go on one final ride. Alright, and that wraps up this recreation video. Thanks a lot for watching. I really hope you enjoyed the video. I also really hope you enjoy placing this blueprint in one of your parks. So make sure you grab it. It'll be in the description. Don't forget about dropping a comment while you're down there. Let me know what some of your favorite real-life roller coasters are, and perhaps they'll end up as blueprints. Don't forget to like and subscribe before you go, and I will catch everyone later.